Okay, good evening. Yesterday we talked about motivation. So today we are going to talk about goal setting, feedback, and learning. So with much difficulties, we handled yesterday's one. Okay, today mm, let's start. So when you think of this topic, goal setting, feedback, and learning, what comes to your mind? Goal setting. Write whatever comes to your mind. Okay. Feedback. Write the word feedback and write whatever comes to your mind. And learning also. Write whatever you come to your mind. Take 1 minute and do this. Okay. Well, well done. I think you have written your answers. And that will be helpful when we continue in our lesson today. So, first, let's talk about goal setting. Before we learn how to write good goals, let's first understand a few key terms. The first term is goal setting. Good setting simply means deciding what we want to achieve with a certain period of time. Okay? Then a goal gives us direction and helps us to stay focused. For example, a student may set a goal to improve his or her mathematics marks from 60% to term is feedback we receive about our we are doing well and what we need to improve. For example, after a classroom presentation, a teacher may tell a student that the explanation was clear, but eye contact needs improvement. That feedback helps the students to perform better next time. The third term is learning. Learning is the process of gaining new knowledge, not only knowledge, skills, attitudes, or values through study, experience, or practice. Effective learning brings about a positive and lasting change in what we know or what we can do. These three concepts are closely connected. We set goals to guide our learning, and we use feedback to check our progress and make improvements of our learning and teaching. In the next slide, we will learn how to write effective goals using the SMART framework. Have you heard of the SMART framework? Yes. our goals should be specific, achievable, timely, and measurable and realistic. Each letter stands for a word. S for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for realistic, T for time or time bound, we say. Okay? So let's talk about them. Specific. What do you mean by the term specific? So we should be able to define our goals very clearly and precisely. As an example, you have given an example. Improving the grades obtained. That is not specific. Okay? In which grade? Up to which point? What is the subject? Okay? So so we can make it specify by giving the real grade, obtaining an A grade. Which grade? A grade. For what? For mathematics. So that is specific. Okay. Then the next one, measurable. Using quantitative indicators. You should be able to show it. Measurable. You should be able to measure it. As an example, understanding geometry. You write it as a goal. Can you estimate that? Can you measure it? No. So we can refine this example. Solving geometry problems daily, how often? Daily, and increasing accuracy by 50% every week. So it is, we can measure it, whether we have achieved the target. Then next one, achievable. Sometimes we have goals, but we can't achieve them. We set goals, but we can't achieve them. They are not achievable. So you have to have realistic goal. They should be able to reach. As an example, learning to write 50 English sentences correctly within 2 months by practicing 1 hour a day. It's very uh, possible, achievable. Okay? Uh, you don't say learning English words, all the English words, all the prepositions. We can't achieve it. Okay? So if we have a number and if we have a time frame, and that hints us that it can be achieved. Okay? And the relevance. Relevance is you should be able to have meaningful results. Okay? So you are given an example, learning to obtain an A grade for the ICT subject within 6 months. It's very relevant and time bound. You should have a time frame or deadline. Okay? So for the goal. And you should be able to finish it, achieve it within this given time frame. Suppose you are teaching a lesson for 40 minutes, your objectives or the goals should be achieved within that time, within that 40 minutes. That's why, yes, otherwise it's not an uh, time-bound goal. Then you are given an example. Look, see it. I will complete 6 lessons in the mathematics subjects within 1 month before the upcoming term examination by dedicating 45 minutes per week to understand each lesson per week. Is it specific? Yes, very specific. What is the grade? How many lessons? What is the subject? What is the duration? Everything is clear, very specific. And can you measure it? Yes, can be measured. Why? You are going to complete 6 lessons. The number is given. Okay? Hmm. And achievable? Yes, achievable. Within 1 month, that is possible. Relevance? Very appropriate. And time bound. All the details are here. So we can say it's a smart goal. So let's talk about factors affecting goals in learning. There are two factors. One is personal factors. Your personal factors, your hygiene, your health, your mental states all affect learning. Okay, achieving your goals. And environmental factors, no need of saying that. because of many of the programs in the school, how the part, the help of the, how the other staff help you, the principal's leadership, and uh, school environment, physical environment, and the social environment, all these affecting our goals in learning. Yes. Then here, in detail, you are given the personal factors. So the first one is self-efficacy. What do you mean by self-efficacy? So the belief I have on my own ability. So I think that with this ability, I can succeed. Okay, goal orientation, another. So how we decide our goals, as well as what purposes we have for our uh, learning. Yes, you have been given two examples: learning for perfection, mastery goals, proficiency goal. So, what do you mean by proficiency? Focusing on uh, mastering the subject for personal growth. Okay, so learning always demonstrate achievements, our performance or goals, focusing on getting high grades or looking smart in front of others. They are personal factors. We sometimes we motivate to learn because then we can be smarter than the others. Sometimes we want to achieve that. Yesterday we talked about that intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. So there may be these personal factors, especially this intrinsic motivation. Okay. So sometimes we learn because we love learning. Sometimes because we learn because we want to reach some higher positions. So that depends. The personal reasons, the personal factors. So now you can take time because this is a video. I'll go. Take time, pause this video and take your time. And I don't know whether you will be able to do that. So, however, um, eh, learning for perfection, proficiency goals. Write some examples. Learning for what are the two things? Learning for perfection or mastery goals, proficiency goals, or learning for performance goals. So you can think and write examples. Okay, so you should know when you write this, you should know that all learners have this, not all learners have the same purpose when they learn. In educational psychology, we often talk about two main types of learning goals. The first is learning for mastery. It is also called proficiency goals. Here, the learner's main focus is to understand the subject, improve skills, and become one competent success, uh, one competent person. Okay, that success is measured by personal growth rather than by comparing with others. As an example, a student may say, I want to understand algebra. I want to understand that well so that I can solve any type of problem. This is mastery or proficiency goal because the focus is on learning and improvement. He wants to learn what he learn in. He want to use what he learned in real life situations. Okay. The second is learning for performance. Okay. Here the learner's main focus. What is the main focus of the learner? It is to demonstrate ability or achieve better results than others. Okay? And success is measured through grades, through rankings, through awards, or through recognitions. As an example, a student may say, want to get the highest marks in the class. I want to come first in the examinations. Now you have an idea. Both types of goals can motivate students. Okay? So write examples. Write your own example for this. Take your time and write your own example for this. Okay? Then we are going to talk about environmental factors, learning environment, teacher-student relationship, feedback and rewards, peer influence, parent support affects our learning. Okay? No need of explaining them much, I think. You can understand. Huh? So, a student's learning does not depend only on his intelligence or ability. This type of environment affect. Okay, a positive learning is safe, comfortable, and supportive. A classroom that is clean, well organized, and free from distractions helps students to concentrate and participate actively. On the other hand, a noisy or stressful environment can reduce learning. So, second, the teacher student relationship also affects, and feedback and rewards. Students need regular feedback to know how well they are progressing. Constructive feedback tells them what they have done well and what they should improve. And peer influence is also needed. Uh, uh, Classmates can have both positive and negative effects on learning. Okay, positive fears. Fears means friends. Positive friends encourage each other, work together, and share ideas. They can increase motivation and they can build up confidence. Okay. However, negative peers always influence or discourage in uh, studies. Okay, and parental support. No need of talking about that much. You know that parental support affects learning. Yes. To increase students' motivation, these factors affect. The first thing, building confidence in the student's ability, creating interest in new knowledge, creating an encouraging environment, building trustworthy relationships, providing continuous support and encouraging feedback. How do we do that? Can you simply explain? Explain it to yourself. Let's talk about the first one. Read the first one. Building confidence in its her ability. Students are more motivated when they believe they can succeed. As teachers, we should give tasks that match their ability, appreciate their efforts, and remind them that mistakes are part of learning. Okay, so then that will build confidence in your student's mind. Okay. You can say when students do something, that's without Roy saying that's wrong. We can say, it's a very good start. Uh, you can go to the next step, mm, correcting these things. Uh, so the next one, create interest in new knowledge. Okay. Learning becomes meaningful when students are curious. Okay. Teachers can use real life examples, stories, demonstration, what games, whatever the students like to increase their interest. The next one, encourage an environment. How can we create encourage an environment? Uh, we can encourage every student to participate. We can encourage students to respect each other's opinions and make the classroom a place. Uh, and in that classroom, the students are not uh, afraid of doing mistakes. Okay, next one. Building trustworthy relationships. Students, yes, you know what a trustworthy relationship is. The teachers can build trust by being fair. She treats every child in a fair manner, and she listens to the students in a very careful manner, and she keeps her promises. If she says that tomorrow I will do that, and she's doing that tomorrow, and treating each child with respect. So she shows genuine care for their well-being, students' well-being. So through these things, you can create trust in your students. When students know that the teacher believes in them, they are more willing to learn. Okay, so and continuous support and encouraging feedback is also important. Okay, that is important because they improve with your feedback. Okay. The role of teachers, the role of teachers in goal orientation. So, what is that? Yeah, we've been given some examples here. Okay. Uh, what do you mean by this goal orientation? It refers to the type of goals that students develop and pursue in their learning. Teachers play an important role in shaping these goals. Here are some ways teachers can promote positive goal orientation. Okay, so you should be aware of students' goals. Okay, and you can encourage mastery goals, and you can value the effort in the learning process. If they do something, you can appreciate them. Uh, then build confidence in your students' mind. Okay, and so they will try to achieve performance goals then and mastery goals also. And you can provide alternative plans and challenging tasks. If they are unable to do something, you can have an alternative for that. Uh, uh, as I told you earlier, let them to know that mistakes are part of learning. No need of being afraid of mistakes because through mistakes we learn. So let your students to learn with mistakes. It's okay. Accept their mistakes. Let them to overcome the mistakes. Correct them. And you can create a safe learning environment and always build intrinsic motivation. So through them, you can uh, help them to uh, achieve their goal. So that is the teacher's role. Through a supportive classroom environment. In a supportive classroom environment, students feel safe. They feel safe to ask questions. They feel safe to make mistakes. And they feel safe to learn from them without fear or of embarrassment. So teachers who show enthusiasm for learning, teachers who shows enthusiasm for working hard, and teachers who have that enthusiasm for continued learning inspire students to develop the same attitudes in themselves. So teachers influence students' goal orientation in many ways. Uh, so now let's talk about the tools for increasing motivation within the classroom. These things can be used as tools to uh, increase motivation of your students. The first one, use of rewards and praise. Next one, setting clear goals, providing choices, creating engaging lessons, and building confidence and self efficacy, giving constructive feedback. Now, let's see how these increase motivation in your students. The first one, use of rewards and praise. Students will encourage when their efforts are recognized. Rewards do not always have to be gifts. It's not only gifts, okay? A simple, well done, you did it, well done. Or a certificate, or a sticker, or emoji, or public recognition can motivate your students, okay? And setting clear goals. Sorry. Students are more motivated when they know exactly what they are expected to achieve. If your goals are clear, they are motivated. You can monitor their progress. Okay? As an example, instead of saying, study this lesson, you can say, by the end of today's lesson, you should be able to explain the water cycle, the whatever you treat that period. Name them, give a time limit. Okay? So they are motivated. They are more motivated then. Then providing choices. You can give your students some choices that will make them feel responsible for their own learning. They may choose a project topic. They may choose a book to read. Okay, then they will be more motivated. Okay, then the next one, engage in class. What do you mean by this engage in class? You should have that engagement with your students. When lessons are interesting, when teachers use discussions, when teachers use group work, games, videos, experiments, real life examples when teaching, that motivates students. Okay, and the next thing, confidence and self-efficacy. What is self-efficacy? I explained that earlier. It is the student's belief that I can do this. You have to build that self-efficacy in your students. What is that? Students should feel I can do this. Teachers can build this by giving achievable tasks, by celebrating small success of your students, by giving constructive feedback. Sorry. Then then come to the next one, constructive feedback. How can we give constructive feedback, and how can that affect uh, your students' motivation? Feedback should help students to improve. Okay, when you give feedback, don't only point out errors. Explain what they did well and how they can do even better. Okay, Without saying your organization is bad. Your organization it's bad, we can say. Your ideas are very good if you organize them into paragraphs. The child write a essay, we feel that organization is very bad. So without telling your organization is very bad, we can say your ideas are very good. If you organize them into paragraphs, your answer will be even stronger. Okay. So these tools increase motivations because they help students to feel valued, capable, interested, and supported. When students believe they can succeed and enjoy learning, they become more motivated to achieve their goals. I think it's clear. Let's move to the next factor. Yes, next point. What's it? What is feedback? We explained that, I think. So it is the reading is enough, I think. It's given here nicely. Information provided to learn about the performance. Yes. It helps guide in future behavior. When we give feedback, it will improve their future learning. It can be positive or constructive. Positive means praise, encouragement. Constructive means suggestions for improvement. Always you should give constructive criticism or feedback. Yes. We have already told about this, but let's see types of feedback. There are different types of feedback: constructive feedback, positive feedback, negative feedback, timely feedback, and specific feedback. Okay? What are they? Yes, constructive, we just explained. Yes, we explained the constructive feedback. What is that? That helps students to improve and it gives suggestions, points to improve. Uh, it gives them suggestions on how to do better. Okay? Positive feedback, it recognizes good performance and encourages students to continue their efforts. Negative feedback, negative feedback points out mistakes or incorrect performance. It should be given carefully and respectfully so that students do not lose confidence. Instead of criticizing the students' mistakes, you can let them to focus on their work. As an example, instead of saying you are careless, you can say there are a few errors in your essay. Let's check them together. So then that become constructive. And timely feedback. What do you mean by timely feedback? Feedback should be given as soon as possible after the task. When feedback is immediate, students can remember their work and correct mistakes more effectively. Yes. Whenever you give feedback, give immediate feedback. Then your feedback should be specific. It should clearly tell your students what they did well and what they need to improve. It is much more useful than general comments. If they are wrong, you have to say where they are wrong. Okay? How a feedback becomes a motivator. Okay? We can encourage students to put in effort. So we can talk about their strengths, their weakness, and if they are weak in some points, we can encourage them to do better, and they will try to perform. Then the next point, How can we build confidence? We can build confidence and self-efficacy. You can do this. The students also feel I can do this. So that becomes a motivator. And when we help our students to set goals and we are clear in our goals as well as our students are clear in their goals. So when they are clear in their goals, when they can set clear goals, and when they have clear expectations, they can uh, they are motivated and they can learn better. Then the next one. Mm. 360-degree feedback. What is that? What do you mean by this 360 degree feedback? Yes, 360. How do you explain it? You know, 360 means what 360 means. The from every aspects. Students reach feedback from different people who interact with us rather than from just one person. Uh, so not only this way, every side, from every side, from different aspects are counted. He will receive a feedback not only from one person. Okay, so that feedback gives a complete picture of one our strengths and areas for improvement because our performance is observed by different angles. Sometimes the teacher's feedback may come from the principal, the supervisor, fellow teachers, students, parents, and we have our self evaluation. Okay, the feedback comes from different directions, and it is called 360 uh, feedback. It comes from different sources. Then usage. Why? We can use it to measure the performance of teachers. Why? That our more balanced and complete evaluation can be done with this 360-degree feedback. So it helps us to identify our strengths areas for improvement. It supports our professional growth and continuous development. And it also improves communication and relationships among everyone who is involved in. And it is supportive for school management. It also measure the skills of our students. And it builds relationships of the stakeholders of the school. Then we have come about formative assessment. What do you mean by formative assessment? Assessment that are carried during the learning process is called formative assessment. They assess the student's knowledge, ability, and progress. As an example, yes, can you give me an example? During the learning process, you give them group work and we assess how they worked. So that is formative assessment during the teaching learning process. It gives timely feedback for learning. It gives immediate feedback, timely feedback. And when we give immediate feedback, that increase students' confidence and effort because they are evaluated, they are assessed during the teaching learning process. And they can identify their weaknesses So when we identify our weakness, we will improve. We want to reduce those weaknesses. So formative assessments are very important. What do you mean by formative assessment? Assessment that is done during the teaching learning process. Formative assessment. Okay. The next one, the other type, there are two types of assessment. One is formative assessment and the other is summative assessment. In learning, these two types of assessments are very, very important. Formative assessments are done during the teaching learning process. Summative assessment are done at the end of an educational unit or end of a teaching period. That means, suppose end of a term, end of a year, or end of a unit. So the student's level of learning is tested there. The term test you have, they are summative assessment. Year-end test, GCE O-level exam, A-level exam, they are summative assessments. So that checks whether we have achieved our learning goals. We can assign in grades. In O-level exam, the students are assigned grades. And that can be used to make decisions for providing special resources. So to enter A level, to do science stream, math stream, art stream, commerce, so to take that decision, the O level results is important. A level results is important to select the students to enter universities. So let's move to the next slide. Now, you know, the simple way, summative means the assessment done at the end of final unit or a period. Formative means assessment you do during teaching learning process. So we have come to the end of today's lesson. So we learn these things in our lesson. What is meant by the 5 letters in SMART when you prepare learning outcomes? We should have SMART learning outcomes, SMART goals. Each letter stand for a word. S means tell. Yes, specific. M, able. A, what is meant by A? Achievable. R, relevant. T, timely. Time bound. Okay? So you'll know the difference between mastery goals and performance goal. Yes, can you say the difference between mastery goals and performance goals? How can you give me the answer? As you can think and give the answers. We learn. Mastery goals are focused on learning, understanding, and improving skills. Uh, Students with mastery goals want to gain knowledge and become better than they were before. Okay? They see mistakes. Their mistakes as opportunities to learn. There are such students in your classrooms and they, teacher, where did I go wrong? They ask. Okay? So then performance goals, on the other hand, are focused on demonstrating ability and achieving good results compared with others. These students want high grades, awards, or recognition and often compare their performance with the other classmates. So, what do you mean by constructive feedback? You know that. So, feedback, yes, write your answers. What do you mean by constructive feedback? Just take your time and I write your answers and we discuss what constructive feedback is. And simply, uh, constructive feedback focus on the work, not than the person. That means giving comments that help a person to improve themselves, their performance. Okay. Then what is difference between formative assessments and summative assessment? think? Just now we finished talking about that. Yes, formative assessment are the assessment we do during the class, during the teaching learning process, and summative assessments are the assessments we do at the end of a unit or at the end of a course for a specific given time period. So I think you answered well, and if you have any doubt, let's clarify them in our next session. Until then, good night. Enjoy your studies. Thank you.